I'm Tom-Vidar Salangli.
And I'm Marius Nilsen.
And we are Dimension Act. And here's a song for you. We draw the lines of mortal existence right here on Marius' life Prog.
The guys who just did that cool introduction are the founding members of the band I have for you in this review. And here we have it again. Dimension Act, Manifestation of Progress. It's a debut album. As you know, I'm always very keen on reviewing debut albums. You get to meet a band that doesn't have, a prior history, so there's nothing to compare, you just judge the album and the band on, well, this one. A debut album is very important because it is the first impression you make on your listeners, on your audience. And well, if you blow it, they'll ignore you, they'll forget you, they won't listen to your music, they won't come to your shows, which would be a shame. But if you do it right, then there's a very strong chance that, they will keep up with you, they will come to your shows, and of course they will buy the album. Now, looking at Manifestation of Progress by Dimension Act, I gotta say they did one hell of a good job, because when I listened to this album, it absolutely blew me away. Now, I'm gonna start with something I never do in my reviews. In fact, I even very much try to avoid, and that is I'm gonna, compare this album to Dream Theater. Because for some reason, every reviewer needs to compare a progressive metal album to Dream Theater. For some reason, it seems that Dream Theater is the standard in progressive metal. Now, the only thing I'm gonna say in comparison Dimension Act, Dream Theater, is that with this album, with this debut album, in my opinion, so remember it's my opinion, I have the utmost respect for Dream Theater. They're doing really good things, they make good music, but these guys blow them away. Because this album has so much power in it, but a lot of feeling as well, and that is something I often miss with a band like Dream Theater. They are very technical, they are very skilled, but I lack the emotion and the feeling. And this album, and I can't show it, enough. I want to see the rear with the track listing. I hope you can see it. This album has a lot of feeling in it. And you really feel, when you listen to this album, that these guys were really motivated, they were up for it, and they really wanted to bring their music out. And I gotta say, they have a lot to offer. But let's look inside the booklet and then we'll move on from there. Because the first thing I'd like to tell you is a couple of reasons why this band is so good, and that starts with the lineup. I mentioned the guys that formed the band, and you saw them in the introduction. They are called Tom-Vidar Salangli on lead and backing vocals. And Marius Nilsen, electric and acoustic guitars and additional keyboards. They founded the band and they wrote the music and the lyrics. Now, in the introduction you can already hear what an amazing, powerful singer Tom-Vidar is. He's very awesome, very impressive, and that goes throughout the whole album, It is so amazing to listen to him sing. So powerful, so clear, very good, very impressive. Then the guitar work on the album, absolutely the highest level. And the album knows a lot of, despite the fact that they have a top-notch singer, they also have a lot of instrumental passages along the way with fantastic, tasty guitars. And they come in all forms and shapes, the guitar. It can be really heavy metal riffing, it can be crunchy, it can be softer, more delicate, more quiet parts. Acoustic parts as well. but all the time very, very good, very well played and a joy to listen to. But at the same time, it never dominates, and that is very important because if an instrument dominates on an album, well, after a while you really get bored. Well, I don't get bored with this album. No way, never. Absolutely not. I love to listen to it over and over again because it has this really fresh sound to it. And well, the guys are very eager, and that is something you really hear in the music. They're eager to get it out, and that's what I like. Then we have a few more. We have Christian Berg on keyboards. We have Tommy Granli on bass guitar and Frank Nordeng-Reu on drums. You have to forgive me, I am Dutch. These guys are Norwegian. Names are always a bit difficult. Nevertheless, rhythm section wise, the band is rock solid. There's not a weak rhythm section. They have a strong backbone. They have a strong foundation for the songs. When it comes to the keyboards, I'm a little bit mixed emotions because in the first couple of songs on the album, the keyboards are there, but you don't notice them that much. You really have to listen to them. Sometimes in the intro, they take up a prominent role, but along the way, they're more like the gravy that you put on a meal to make it, really juicy and delicious. And that's very nice because that means they have a more subtle layer in the music. In the last track, the keyboards play a more upfront role. But the last track is something special. They have a few guest musicians, and I hope you don't mind. I'm going to skip the names because it's a little too difficult for me to explain. They're a little difficult for me to pronounce. Alright, the track listing. 4 tracks, clocks around 1 hour. The album opens with the song Cosmic Chaos. Well, that is your first introduction to the band. It's a song about 5 minutes, and there you hear what Dimension Act is all about. Very good songs, very melodic, very heavy, but not too heavy. Industrial Evolution is definitely one of the highlights of the album. Again, they move it up a notch, they move into a little bit more complex song structures, which they execute fantastically. They're really amazing, very skilled musicians. Uncharted Waters, also a very nice track. The second and third track clock around 9-10 minutes. Then we come to track number 4, and that is the bold and ambitious part of this band. And I gotta say, I personally don't know other bands or albums that have songs like this on it. Probably there are. Probably they won't be the first to do it. But wow. Perspectives Chapter 1 clocks 31 minutes and 38 seconds. Well, that is very daring if you put a track like that on your debut album. Kudos to the band for making that song absolutely brilliant. For 30 minutes, these guys just give everything they have, and you're swept away from one direction to another along with their music. And here you have these longer instrumental parts, you have the vocal parts. What they added, and it wasn't necessary in terms of keeping it exciting, because Tom-Vidar really makes sure that you listen to his singing. But they include a female guest vocalist on this song, and she sings some backing vocals, but she also sings some lead vocals. And the first time you hear it, it's a real surprise, it's a real treat. And despite the fact that after a couple of times you heard it, the surprise is gone, it still sounds fantastic, and it still feels really good that they did it. It just adds this extra spark to the music and to the album. Now, the artwork, you can see it, and on the inside, well, there's not much artwork. It's more lyrics. Well, a little bit of artwork then. The band is from a beautiful country, Norway, and the album was released all the way in America by ProgRock Records. Now, I know Sean Garden has an ear for good music, and again, he brings out a gem. This is an album that makes progressive metal interesting again to listen to. If you were bored by, well, the number of bands that, you know, kept on keeping up with a line like this and never going above that line or below that line, you know, doesn't matter which way, but just change something, listen to this album. I can honestly say, if you're even remotely interested in progressive metal, you need to have this album. Plain and simple. Because it'll show you that there are still musicians that have a heart for the genre, that have a heart for the music, and that can come up with really tasty, beautiful, well-played and well-written songs. For you, a live prog must-have. Dimension Act, Manifestation of Progress. Get a copy.